أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون صدق الله العظيم.
الحمد لله الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا وإن الله لمع المحسنين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. Inshallah, today's topic will be about some terminology that is very important to understand within the Naqshbandi Silsila, within this Naqshbandi curriculum. And now, before we start and go into the terminologies itself, I wanted to share a story of Maulana Rumi, rahmahullah alayhi ajma'in. So we need to understand that this path of spirituality, this path within this Naqshbandi curriculum, is not a path of words, but rather it's a path of feelings. It's not a path of knowledge. It's not a path of showing off. It's a path of what's inside of us. It is what our emotions and our feelings and our spiritual inner peace and our feelings are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Urdu, we say, ye qaal nahi, ye hal hai. So this famous story of Maulana Rumi rahmatullahi, he was a renowned alim even before he entered into the curriculum in the silsila. And so there was this one time in which he was sitting next to a pond with his students, and he had a book with him. Hazrat Shams Tabriz rahmatullahi, he came to Maulana Rumi rahmatullahi in a way that he seemed to be so engulfed in his feelings and his emotions and his spiritual connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Maulana Rumi rahmatullahi had noticed this, and he thought of him as some sort of majzoob. But then Hazrat Shams Tabriz rahmatullahi, he asked Maulana Rumi rahmatullahi that what is this? Meaning, what is it that you're doing? And Maulana Rumi rahmatullahi had actually had a book in his hand, and he was teaching. And so upon noticing what he was doing, he said, this is qal, meaning these are words. So Hazrat Shams Tabriz rahmatullahi took that book, and then he just threw it into the pond that Maulana Rumi rahmatullahi was next to. And Maulana Rumi rahmatullahi was very worried upon what had just happened, because books were a form of ilm, and even today it's a form of ilm. Nowadays we have other forms of distributing knowledge, but books was the main source of distributing knowledge. But in addition to that, it was very difficult to even make these books. Most, if not all of these books were actually handwritten, and the ink that was used at that time was was an ink that was could come off very easily, especially if you had put water on top of it. It was a very liquid ink. So, but then Hazrat Shams Tabriz rahmatullahi had just threw it into the pond so easily. And Maulana Rumi rahmatullahi then asked, what have you done? Shams Tabriz rahmatullahi then took the book out of the water, and then he hit it. He kind of smacked it a little bit, and it caused dust to come off of it. The book was completely dry. And Maulana Rumi rahmatullahi was astonished to see what had just happened and what he had just saw, what he witnessed. And then he asked, what is this? And Shams Tabriz rahmatullah responded, this is hal, meaning these are feelings. This is situation, this is spirituality. And Maulana Rumi rahmatullah then thereafter connected himself with Hazrat Shams Tabriz rahmatullah in a spiritual fashion, and then eventually said himself that Maulvi did not become Maulana Rum until he became a student of Shams Tabriz rahmatullah. So subhanAllah, when we go on this path, on this curriculum, and we focus on our inner feeling and our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is what truth is. That is what we are here to do. That is what we want to achieve. We want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to look at us and smile. And then inshallah, in the hereafter, we will also look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and smile. And so, just to understand, this path is not a path of words, rather it's a path of feelings. So this path is trekked with feelings. You need to understand that. We cannot say, oh, this is a path of feelings, and then not focus on that, not focus on our connection and our growth within ourselves. So in fact, if we think about ourselves within ourselves, we will eventually understand that talking a lot, especially if you're talking about worldly things or talking about things that are unnecessary, is very detrimental for the growth of a student in this silsila. And there are those people who are sahib in nisbat, people who have the connection already. These are very respectable people who are remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even while they are speaking. But as a student, when we start speaking and when we talk, especially when we talk about things that are unnecessary or things that are worldly, we forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We forget that we have this connection and we are supposed to maintain this connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to continuously remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to do zikr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our heart is supposed to be doing zikr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when we start talking, especially when we talk unnecessarily, we forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so it is very important to understand that talking a lot is very detrimental to the growth of a student. When one remembers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and focuses on their inner state, when they are remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one doesn't even want to speak. Man arafa rabbahu qalla lisanuhu, the one who understands Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then their speech decreases. So one can understand this feeling when they are very worried or sad. When we have something that goes on in our life, like a failure of some sort, especially many of us have been to schools and colleges, we've had an exam, and if we have failed that exam or did poorly on that exam, that is a form of a failure. And when that happens, that immediate feeling that we have just makes us want to just hide and just don't want to speak. And we think about that all the time. And in fact, even if we go to a setting that is eventful, that is happy, that is jolly, we still don't want to. We are still sad. We are still remembering that failure or that situation that had happened. Hazrat Aqdas Thanwi rahmatullah, he in his khanqah, he had a rule that no one is to speak after Salatul Isha. So there were two young, newly graduated ulama who had come to Hazrat Thanwi rahmatullah's khanqah to spend some time with the Shaykh. This was a very common tartib, a very common thing that people used to do, in which after their studies in ulum, in the madaris, they would come to a khanqah and spend time so that they obtain the nisbat. And with that nisbat, they have even more of a strength in terms of their work in deen. And so this was a tartib that they used to do. In fact, in Darul Uloom Deoband, they would require it at one point for their students to obtain nisbat with a shaykh. And so these two ulama, newly graduated, went to Hazrat Thanwi rahmatullah's khanqah, and they had this rule in which after Isha they were not to speak. And these ulama, their names were Muhammad Shafi, and the other person was named Yusuf. So even though that there was this rule of not speaking after Isha in the khanqah, these two started conversing on religious topics. They started talking about ilm, about some topic within ilm. So a servant of the Khanqa came to the two youngsters and said, you two are new here and are not aware of the rules in this Khanqa and the regulations within this Khanqa. And so in this Khanqa, after Isha, we do not speak. So the two youngsters thought about it and both concluded that we were just talking about religious topics. The servant was an old servant, did not seem to be very understanding of the rule of the Islamic rules that and so they thought that what they were doing was correct, and maybe that person was saying an incorrect thing. And so because of their ilm, they thought that they were doing the right thing. And so they continued to talk amongst each other. And then the servant came to them a second time and said that your voices are increasing again. And if your voices raise again, even after this, then by the order of the Shaykh, I will kick you two out myself. And so these two youngsters, they then understood that this Khanqa has a specific rule in which after Isha, there is no one is to speak. And it goes back to the principle that in a Khanqa, in general life as well, talking too much is very detrimental for the growth of the student, and it is not encouraged to do so. And so these two youngsters, they spent their time more and more with Hazrat Thanvi in the Khanqa. And as time had moved on and on, who were to know at that time, but they became Mufti Muhammad Shafi rahmatullah and Hazrat Maulana Yusuf bin Nori rahmatullah. And this was also from my previous topic, the company of the Shaykh. So these two were ulama, but because they had this connection and this company with Hazrat Thanvi rahmatullah, who was a very renowned and very amazing scholar and Shaykh in even our time today, he laid the groundwork of what our understanding of ilm and spirituality is today. And these two had become great people under this company. Now, talking about some terminology, we need to understand the difference between a salik and a majzub. So in the Naqshbandi crowd, or generally amongst people, there are two different types of people or students. So one is a salik and the other one is a majzub. And a majzub comes from the word jazab, and jazab means absorbed. So there are some people who spend their time and efforts and they work in the curriculum and they go through each lesson one by one, and they work hard, they struggle, they do their mujahidah, they do their askar, their ma'amalat, they do their muraqabah. And these people are part of that path, part of that journey, part of the lessons specifically, one by one, and these are salik. And then there are those people that with the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the sight, just from the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has basically absorbed them and basically brought them up to the level, to that status easily. They don't have to go through all that difficulty. And that is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But most people are salik. And so there are some people who live their lives in forgetfulness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they do one action. For example, one person had took the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the floor and just put it up on a higher location, gave some respect to the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And just like that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them into a great person. There are some people like Hazrat Bashar Hafi rahmatullah, Hazrat Malik bin Dinar rahmatullah. These people were alcoholics. These buzurg were alcoholics before they followed the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, maybe by one action that they did that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala liked, the sight had come on them and the mercy was brought on them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala absorbed them, had made them majzub. But these people were jazab. So we have to understand though that most people are salik, and we are most of us have to follow the lessons that are taught, especially the ones from Hazrat Mujaddid al-Afsani rahmatullah, from Hazrat Bahauddin Naqshbandi rahmatullah, the 35 lessons. And then after that, there are still so much more statuses that we can achieve even after the 35 lessons. So we still have to, till our last breath, we have to keep working hard, inshallah. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah, he describes 4 levels of purification. The first level of purification is the physical appearance, the physically impure and the impurities that one can see. For example, urination, fecal matter, alcohol, flowing blood. These things are considered to be impure, and this is the first level of purification that one must achieve before they do worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second level of purification that Imam Ghazali rahmatullah had described is purifying your limbs from committing sins, such as lying, such as committing adultery, such as disrespecting your parents. These are all sins that we need to abstain from. So this is the second level of purification that we need to achieve. The third level of purification is to purify our soul, our heart, our ruh, from bad mannerisms, abhorrent behavior. Our inner feeling has to start becoming more that is clean. In other words, we also have to develop nafs mutma'inna. But then there's a fourth level of purification, and this is described as purifying your seer. And your seer is described as the essence of your soul, or the heart of your soul. This is what we mostly do the purification of within our initial lessons in our silsila. And I will describe that more a little bit later, inshallah. So seer, as we described, there's 2 types, seer anfusi and seer afaqi. So when a salik obtains the level of spirituality for seer, then there are 2 places they need to put their efforts in. One is in their inner self, which is seer anfusi, and then there's the outside world, seer afaqi. But both is described to be ruh. So it's the outside part of ruh, or the inside part of ruh. I'm going to explain that a little bit more. In the Quran, it states, وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ, and in your own selves, so you do not perceive. So do you not perceive? Meaning we need to clean the inside of ourselves. Since there have been 2 types of seer described, it only makes sense because I also said there's a connection with our initial lessons in our Naqshbandi curriculum. So I need to describe the 2 types of lataif as well. So one's lataif are made from alim amr and also from alim khalq, meaning alim amr is the place where command goes. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not have a system in which it was made. It was just a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then alim khalq is the space of creation, meaning the way that this world has been created. Through means of that, this part of the ruh was made, the lataif. So the lataif of alim amr is described to be qalb, ruh, sir, khafi, akhfa, which is the first 5 lessons in which we do our muraqabah on in our Naqshbandi curriculum. Now the lataif of alim khalq are the nafs and qalib. And qalib is further divided into 4 more, which is air, water, fire, and earth. So these are all air, water, fire, and earth, and nafs. They're all from alim khalq, meaning from the creation itself. And so there are 5 from alim amr and 5 from alim khalq, because I further divided qalib into fire, earth, water, and air. And so there are 5 in each. So in these lessons, we start specifically with the seer anfusi, which is the lataif made from alim amr, which is the qalb, ruh, sir, khafi, and akhfa. So these are the first 5 lessons of our silsila. And then we work on seer afaqi. In fact, if one works on their lesson of seer anfusi, which is the first 5 lessons, they automatically develop their seer afaqi. Hazrat Muhammad ﷺ had stated إن في الجسد مضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب. Indeed, the children of Adam have a piece of flesh in their body that in which is fixed will fix the whole body. And if it is damaged, the whole body will be damaged. And know that is your heart. This was sourced from Bukhari Sharif. So there are two ways for one to treat or to cure your lataif. So, or your soul. So either one can struggle, go through mujahida, basically beat it down until one cleanses it. Or one can do muraqabah, basically shower it with the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the tajalliyat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in which it will enlighten your soul. And if one spends their time doing mujahida, they will spend a lot of time in hardship to reach that status. And that same status can also be achieved more quickly as well and more easily through muraqabah, through the blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the tajalliyat. So a way to understand this in a more scientific, in a more worldly manner is there are two types of medications that one can give. There are more than that, but these are the two main ones that a person can get. Either they can get IV medications, which is through the vein, or a person can take a pill through their mouth. So everyone has taken Tylenol, everyone has had a headache in the past. And so from your own personal experience, you can understand that when one takes Tylenol as a oral pill from the mouth, it takes about 30 minutes to an hour for it to kick in, for it to start working, right? So after you take it, it takes that long for it to achieve. But if a person were to be admitted in the hospital and they had an IV placed on them and they had pain and they were given Tylenol as an IV medication, the effect is instantaneous, it's within seconds. So similarly, if a person does muraqabah, it's as if they are taking an IV medication for the cleansing of their heart, for the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to start remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more easily. And mujahida struggle is like taking that oral pill of Tylenol, in which it takes them so long and they have to go through so much hardship before they start feeling an effect. So one should still understand, though, that if a person were to do mujahida, they will still reach to that level. And we should not take this away from many of the mutaqaddimin who did a lot of struggle, who did go through so much mujahida to achieve that status. We cannot do that in this era. And so Hazrat Mujahid Sani gave us through kashf from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's actually a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in which we are taught a more easy way to achieve closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful on us, especially in this era, that we are very easily able to attain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. Another thing to understand is this terminology, safar dar watan, just travel towards your country, or in other words, your destination. Watan means country, but you can understand it as destination. So students should always have in mind as to what they are trying to do, that they have to go back to their destination, meaning more understandably, be very goal-oriented and focus on those goals and achieve that. But what are those goals? What is it that we need to focus on? So these goals we have to understand could be one of two, but the understanding is that it is basically the same thing. But one is akhirah and the other is paradise. In the Quran it states, تِلْكَ الْجَنَّةُ الَّتِي أُورِثْتُمُوهَا بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ, that this is paradise which you will be inherited for what you used to do. So this word inherited, wirasat, which is inheritance, is what alludes towards Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. And this verse of the Quran focuses on that, and it seems that it's talking about Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, who is humanity's father. And who do we inherit our things from? It's from our father. And Hazrat Adam alayhi salam is humanity's father, who used to live in paradise. And therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Hazrat Adam alayhi salam and the rest of humanity for a short period of time to this earth from paradise. So one of the goals that we can think of is paradise. But also it could be akhirah, which is similarly, but also encompasses the idea that the day of judgment will be of ease, the pulsarat will be of ease, we will get the Hawz al-Kawthar from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all those blessings, and also the punishment of the grave we won't have. So these are all part of our goals, that we want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a manner that we are a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we were sent to this earth as a test. We are here as a traveler, and we need to spend our lives here like we are travelers. We should not get sidetracked by all the colors, the glitter, the sparkles, the lighting of this world, and we have to focus and stay goal-oriented to the akhirah. And so for us to be successful in this world and in this Naqshbandi curriculum, we need to work on our heart, and we need to focus on our lataif, because we want to leave this temporary state that, oh, when we do our zikr, when we do our muraqbah, we feel something. We have this kafiyat, we have this connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But as soon as we leave that, then we lose everything. And so we want to convert this from a temporary state into a permanent state of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we want to find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is found everywhere. But if we, us as our limitations, we need to try to find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so if we want to try to find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to look into our own heart. In Tafsir Mazhari, it states, La yasa'uni ardi wala sama'i walakin yasa'uni qalbu abdil mu'min. I don't settle in the skies and the earth, I settle in the hearts of the believers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everywhere. He is omniscient. But we have to find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is even closer to us than our jugular vein. And so we have to create that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so we can be successful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to do so. Furthermore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more specifically found in Sir Anfusi, not in Sir Afaqi. The Quran states, وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ, and in your own self. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is within you. So do you not perceive? So if we don't perceive, that means that we are forgetting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means we are in ghafla. We don't even have a connection at all with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once we develop ourselves, once we work hard, once our hearts are started, jump-started, then we start feeling that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is within us. Another terminology is khalwat dar anjuman, meaning solitude in association or solitude in a crowd. Khalwat means solitude, anjuman means association or crowd. So what does this mean? So this means that even if you are in a crowd, you can enjoy solitude. You look within yourself, there's a whole chamber in which you are remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if you're in a crowd, you're remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if you're in amongst people who are talking, you are remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One is not in a state of forgetfulness. So one who has nisbat, who has that connection, it's as if they are sitting in a glass room or in like a sunroom, right? So they can see what is happening outside in the world. If it's raining, they can see that. But they are protected in this glass room. Hazrat Khwaja Majzub rahmatullah was amongst the company of people in which he was telling jokes. He made a crowd laugh so much amongst this company that he was in. And suddenly he asked the crowd, how many of you are still in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So while he was joking around, he had this sudden moment in which he said this. Everyone was stunned. They were like, what type of question is that? Because none of them were remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he said, even though I was telling the jokes, my heart remained in the state of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So subhanAllah, this is the level that we need to achieve. That even if we are doing things that are worldly or unnecessary, we are remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this day and age, even amongst if we're in a crowd of non-Muslims, we are remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is very difficult, but it is possible. We are said to pray our salat in a manner that we are looking at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we cannot imagine that, then at least imagine or know, because we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching us at all times, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking at us. So many of us can't even imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looking at us. But we are actually a more superior status is if we can imagine that we are looking at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while we are praying. And so that comes with a remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Naqshbandi curriculum actually requires us to achieve remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the very beginning. We need to achieve Adam al-Ghafla, which means that we need to never forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a stepping stone to later levels, later statuses that we can achieve in this curriculum. Another thing to understand is that this relationship of a wali, of a friend, and with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a very close connection, especially if you've achieved that level, then you have created a very close bond with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more one remembers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the stronger this connection becomes. So one who has this connection doesn't want to display it in front of others. It's like you have a really good friend or you have a very good bond with your spouse and you have this loving connection. You don't want to talk about that outside. You don't want to go tell other people, even other people who may seem to be close to you, like your siblings or your parents. You just want to keep it between you and the other person. So similarly, a wali could be sitting, but their connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so strong and they don't even display it. They hide it. This is a mannerism that is seen amongst the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So some would even say that other people won't even understand what they're feeling, because that is the reality. If you have spent so much time in creating this connection, creating these bonds, you have these moments with a person, for example, then other people will never understand what that moment meant to both of you. And so this is the connection that is created with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they don't even want to portray it in front of other people. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to understand, give us the ability to develop ourselves so that we have this connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want to achieve this solitude in a crowd. We want to continuously remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to do so and continue learning and applying it to our lives. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prevent us from ever forgetting Him. Ameen, thumma ameen, wa akhiru da'wana, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Let us make dua. Allahumma ameen. Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam, tabarakta rabbana wa ta'alayta ya dhal jalali wal ikram. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Kareem. Ya Allah, forgive all of our sins, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, forgive all of our sins, Ya Allah. We have done so many sins, Ya Allah, in public and private, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we have done so many different types of mistakes, Ya Allah, with our different limbs, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we have walked to the wrong places, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we have looked at the wrong things, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we have said the wrong things, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we have eaten the wrong things, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, please cleanse us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, erase our bad deeds, Ya Allah. In fact, you have said that you can convert them even to good deeds, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, please do so, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we need your mercy, Ya Allah. We need that one sight from you, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, then we will be cleansed. Ya Allah, then we will be able to go to Jannah, Ya Allah. Without your mercy, we will not be able to go, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we want to develop this friendship, Ya Allah, this connection with you, Ya Allah. We want to be your wali, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, give us the ability to do so, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we are so weak, Ya Allah, and we are not even able to take the first step, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, pull us towards you, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, pull us towards you, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, give us the strength. Ya Allah, give us the willpower to be able to follow the deen, Ya Allah, to follow the spiritual journey, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Hazrat Mujahid al-Husayn rahmatullah, Hazrat Bahaduddin Naqshbandi rahmatullah, and all the mashayikh of this silsila, Ya Allah, Hazrat Shaykh Dr. Nadeem Qureshi, Hazrat Shaykh Zulfiqar Ahmad Damat Barakatum, Ya Allah, and everybody who is in this silsila, Ya Allah, have worked so hard to uh, teach us and bring this knowledge to us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Allah, have mercy on them as well, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, without them, where would we be, Ya Allah? Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, they have done so much for us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, give them such a high status in Jannah. Ya Allah, give them Jannatul Firdaus, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, allow us to be in their company in the hereafter, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, in Jannah, in paradise, we want to be with them too, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we want to be at the feet of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we want to be successful in the hereafter, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we don't want other people to look at us in the hereafter and we be embarrassed with ourselves. Ya Allah, hide all our sins. Ya Allah, you have hidden so many sins in this world, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, hide them forever, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, erase them completely, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Allah, forgive us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, the days of Hajj are coming soon. Ya Allah, there are so many people who will go there and will raise their hands and make dua to you, Ya Allah. They will reach out to you, Ya Allah, and you will cleanse them as if they had just come out of the womb, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, put our names in their du'as as well, Ya Allah, so that we can also be cleansed, Ya Allah. In the day of Arafah, you have said that anybody who makes dua for even other people, Ya Allah, you will accept that, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, please allow them to remember us in their du'as, Ya Allah. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Allah, forgive us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, what has been said, Ya Allah, please, if it was correct, Ya Allah, please accept it, Ya Allah, and apply reward and spread it to other people, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, those things that have been said that was incorrect, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, please forgive me, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, forgive me for all the wrongdoings that I have done, Ya Allah. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله أصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Just a reminder for everyone that inshallah we will be continuing these seekers guidance lecture series in the coming weeks, inshallah. But inshallah, please share these videos with other people and please subscribe as well. So jazakallah khair for all your support. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.